Our GPIO module or shield for an Arduino can be used for many different things. It's quite versatile little unit. And first, what is GPIO? It stands for General Purpose Input and Output. And the shield itself looks like this. It has some optocouplers which ensures that input signals will not mess with the electrical integrity of the whole thing or burn off the microprocessor. And then it has some relays, tiny relays for the outputs, which can turn on and off lamps, etc. And quite often this module is used for tally lights. And if you program it with a sketch connecting to a Blackmagic ATEM switcher, you can have all the relays flip lamps on and off for tally light, the characteristic little red bulb on top of a camera. But in this example, I'll show you how it can be used as an input device. So I have a small connector here because on the end of this one we have a DB25 connector, and when I put this one on I have two push buttons which will shortcut input 1 and 2 to ground, which will effectively start, or I have programmed a sketch that will activate some functionality, which I'll get back to. Okay, so I'll just put this on here and then put this aside a little bit, because what I'm going to control with these two buttons is this guy, and this one is also a Blackmagic-design product. It's a smart video hub, and a video hub has, in this case, it has 16 inputs and 16 outputs, SDI, all of them. It has a network connection and some other configuration connections. On this particular video hub, we have an output connected to this monitor. And it shows you currently the program output of the recording that I'm in the middle of right now. And that program output is routed to this output of the video hub through this input. So this is coming from the mixer recording this show. Then I have on input number 1 and 2 the direct source from two of my cameras. So using a piece of software on my laptop, and you can see it right here on the laptop, I can decide that input 1 should be routed to output 8. So basically I look at output 8 right here and I say now, okay, I want input 1 to be there. And if we look at what is on the screen, we see, yes, okay, input 1 is obviously the main camera. So now I change to input 2 and we see a change to this camera, which is just behind me here making close-up pictures. I can go back to input 1, input 2, and I could then go back to input 8, which was my program input. Okay, so what could this be used for? Well, generally a video hub is just patching around video signals between inputs and outputs. But this particular application I'm showing you will activate or do so that when you press one of these buttons, input 1 will be sent to the output. When you release it again, it will put program back to the output. And when you press the other button, it will take input 2. And that is actually what is happening. If I press it right now, we'll see exactly that. That was not the case. Actually, if you look at the software, it is input 4 that is sent to output 8 and input 13 that it returns to. How can that be? I just told you I want it differently. And this is why I also want to show you how this project has a web interface that allows me to configure these things, because it has an IP address. I can connect to this IP address. And here we see a web interface where, first of all, I can set the device IP, the Blackmagic Micro Video Hub IP address, and then I can select which video hub output is it that I want to change, and that's output 8. And then the default input for output 8 is going to be input 8. So when I submit this, we should now see back here in the Micro Video Hub overview that my output 8, when I press the first button, it goes to 4, and then it goes back to 8, 4, 8. So that worked. The next question is, what should happen when I press the input number 1? Well, I want to see input number 1 from the video hub. What happens if I press input number 2? I want to see input number 2, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These remaining configurations are meaningless in this context because I have only 2 push buttons. So now I should have the exact configuration I was talking about in the beginning. So now I press button number 1. Yes, input 1 goes to output number 8. I release and we are back to input 8. I press the second button and input 2 is now routed to output 8, and I release the button again and we are back to input 8 on output 8. Sorry for all the numbers. I hope you saw the more general point. We have a very versatile product. It can take inputs, and this was one of the examples of how you could use that with a micro video hub from Blackmagic-design. And also it's an example of how this device and our devices in general could have configuration being set in a web interface for the device.